So the shadow self, what is it? It is a series of repressed things that you remove from yourself because society deemed them as bad or your upbringing deemed them as bad. An example, being aggressive when I was a kid didn't work because all it did was get my ass beat. Now, the shadow self, I personally believe, is emotionally stunted because I also believe it is the unconscious mind. So, let's read off the emotionally stunted for the trillionth time. Chronic self-absorbed, self-preoccupied behavior. They think of themselves first. Limited or complete lack of empathy, lack of guilt or remorse. Disregard for your well-being, safety, and those you love. They do what feels best. They do not learn from past mistakes and continue to repeat behaviors that have negative consequences. Lack of self-reflection, inability to take your perspective, stand in your shoes. History of conflict and drama in relationships. You don't have to worry about that one with the with the unconscious mind or the shadow self because they don't have relationships. You're the relationship. History of denying reality due to effective reality. Realism of what it feels like versus what it is. That's kind of important because the unconscious mind does not view reality the way the conscious mind views reality. History of distorting reality, making up new narratives about situations to deal with it. History of impulsive behavior, more feeling than thinking, so they do what feels best. The unconscious mind is all about emotion. Enmeshment in relationships, instead of emotional intimacy, it is a part of you, so it is enmeshed with you. May focus on physical things versus emotional. That's not a thing. With the it kind of can't. It's not. These people at the church switch them, so that becomes a thing. But in the normal state of things, that's not a thing. They do not do emotional work. They do not know how to repair relationships effectively. They don't know the unconscious mind. The shadow self communicates in dreams and imagery. It does not communicate in the effective stance like you or I do with language. It is a metaphorical experience. And that is the only way it knows how to represent itself. Now, I have a theory that the void in the Thunderbolts movie with the Sentry is the shadow self. And I think the shadow self believes it's protecting you when sometimes it's hurting you. And its job, the unconscious mind, will repress memories or alter situations in your memory, effective realism, to change them if they hurt you bad enough because it cares about how it feels. In the Thunderbolts, if you pay attention to when the Void speaks, he looks at the guys that are shooting at him and is like, "Why are you trying so hard? You must be tired." And then he pulls them into the shadow dimension. Now, think about this in regards to a narcissist. Narcissists don't do emotional work, so when you hurt them, they want you to feel their pain. The problem is it's an overreaction. One, making other people feel the way you feel doesn't solve the fact that you feel bad or you're hurt. Okay? That is why it is a dumbass idea to make others feel the way you feel. And the other part is the unconscious mind is that thing that annoyingly plays those embarrassing moments when you're trying to sleep at night and they remind you of that time you farted really loud and it was during a moment of silence in elementary school. Okay? Or that time you were, I don't know, I got nothing. I got a brain fart. But anyways, that is what it does. And it reminds you of that so you don't do it again. It makes you feel bad because it doesn't want you to make the same mistakes. But on the other end, it itself, because it's not conscious, it is unconscious, isn't conscious of its own ornate actions. The only thing it knows is it needs to protect you. So when the Void starts snapping people out of existence, it is because Bob is hurt. Or dead. And the Void very realistically can bring him back to life. in the movie. So he arguably has the ability to, because of effective realism, and if everything is how his mind perceives it, that means effective realism in his brain, in that reality, is very real, meaning he can just think reality alternatively. The other side is bad experiences in somebody else's brain. A bad experience that to somebody else might not be that bad. But in the movie, when he's like meth addicted, sign twirling chicken, and then they go there, and the chicken just starts beating up the Thunderbolts, who are trained assassins, by the way. That is because that memory is that bad to him. It is that powerful. And the other thing is once again, locking people into their own traumas and making them feel that fear and that anxiety that Bob feels is his way of making them feel the way he feels. Because that's how the Void feels. Now, in the movie, because these are the rejected sides of a person's personality, that is why Bob starts inevitably beating the repressed shadow self up. And everybody has to stop him. Because beating yourself up only works so much. I know. I'm guilty of that severely. You even have shitty art that dates back to like 2002 on my Facebook page, where I actually have images of me beating myself up. It has been a thing with me. And this is a thing that feeds into that. You should never blame anybody, including yourself. Repressed aggression was an inevitability in my life. Repressed sexual intimacy, obviously, because I was sexually molested as a kid. These things are all part in one scenario. When I went to psychology, they taught me if something hurts you, you just keep hurting yourself with it until it stops hurting. I still use this method because it is effective, even though they say it may cause other psychological problems, but I do not care about those other psychological problems. I guess an example of repression of the shadow self with me was when I was in psychology, when I was seeing a psychiatrist as a kid. Basically, they had misdiagnosed me as a schizophrenic when I was not schizophrenic. I had a very loud ego and a very loud superego, and I had a crying child. The crying child being a physical representation of child abuse that had not been worked through. So the psychiatrist was like, oh, let's talk about it, and I just coldly told them everything that happened to me. I did not care about my emotions because I had effectively repressed those with my entire unconscious mind. Flash forward to Stu and every other idiot that was dosing me with LSD and communicating with my unconscious mind, and me rejecting my unconscious mind. Remember, I said the blue-eyed guy was confused when I didn't remember the LSD drug trips and the hypnosis they put me through, even though they didn't erase my mind. They were just supposed to try and scare me. I was so removed from my subconscious that I didn't have any of the memories from my own subconscious. And I know exactly what started that, because as the psychiatrist was trying to move me through the crying child, I decided to take the swift approach, which was we did a series of psychological things where you imagined things in your head. So I imagined the crying child, and then I imagined me slitting his throat and pushing him into a grave. And then I told the psychiatrist, I'm done. I'm healed. I no longer feel bad. And they were weirded out by that because they wanted to do an entire session on working through the shit. And I sat through the session as we went over it, and I told them I didn't feel anything. And then they asked me, what did I do to that child? And I told them what I did. And they were like, I guess that solves the trauma. And then I was put through a review to see if I was a danger to anybody or anybody else. And spoilers, I'm not. I'm not a dangerous psychopath, even though in my own mind I murdered me as a child and pushed him into a grave. I thought of the child me as weak. I thought he was pathetic. He was put in a disproportionate situation similar to the same disproportionate situation I find myself in today, where people just kept expecting more of him than he could deliver. And that is an unfortunate side effect of my life. People just keep doing that to me, and whenever anything good happens from me, they're really quick to snuff it out. I also used to use a lot of sarcasm. I know Taco watches these videos because he's a loser, and I've seen him comment, and it's the way he writes his shit. Hi, Taco, how you doing? Don't tell me, shut the fuck up. That guy got an experience of extreme sarcasm, Bob, because everything I did talking to that kid when I first met him was sarcasm, because sarcasm is a form of passive-aggressive behavior. Yeah. So, as I personally go on my own adventures, understanding my shadow self and the void that fills the in-between, and I recognize these social patterns, and I work through my demonic hatred of emotionally stunted people, because I believe just smashing them in the head with the hammer is the perfect cure for them. I literally do not care for emotionally stunted people at all in this world. But then there is a side of me that is an emotionally stunted child that basically just needs help, I guess. And I guess that's what I do, is I help people, so why not help this thing? But every time I've ever helped people in the past, it's always gone bad for me. People are not worth helping. You really shouldn't waste your time on it. Trust me, the reason they're in suffering is there. People are often masters of their own hell. They create it for themselves, and you can just sit down, eat popcorn, and watch. You don't have to step in and go, hey, dumbass, it's bad because of how you think, you stupid fuck. And trust me, 90% of the time that doesn't work. They get mad at you because they have to be right, or else the misery doesn't make any sense, or they're just self-immiserating. Once again, that dumb shit with narcissist. I'm gonna make you feel the way I feel. Okay, but how does that solve the situation? It doesn't, but emotional vindication, because I think like a 2-year-old. Great. As stated, I think in the Thunderbolts movie, the Void is literally just trying to protect Bob, but Bob doesn't view it as the Void protecting him. He views it as, the Void is taking control and is overpowering him, and Bob's, I guess, insecurities and fears, because that's what is in the shadow self. It is a reflection of all your fears, anxieties, and all these other things that creeps up, and it is just a side of you that needs to be accepted. It's there, okay? I remember chewing this guy's ass one time, and he was my dad. My father was like, I don't have an envy bone in my body, and I was like, bullshit, you're a fucking human being, you feel the full spectrum of emotions. Unless you're an emotionally stunted narcissist, in which case you do not feel guilt or remorse, but, I chewed my father's ass because that man is the most jealous man on the planet, but it's also a repressed side of him that hides deep within his tiny subconscious mind. This is just my theory. I would argue the Void is supposed to be applicable. It's probably designed to be anything, but I firmly believe, because it is a shadow, that it is the shadow self. The Void's kindness is cruelty. If I had to explain that. There is a theory, here's a Bobby theory. Your vision, the way it works, is you actually view the world upside down and backwards, and your brain actually flips that. And I think that same effect happens in the neural sensors of your brain, and that is the reason why things work backwards inside your mind. When you try to fight or reject fear or anxiety, it gets worse. But when you embrace it and go, hey, I'm terrified, what do you know? The brain's like, okay. But if you fight it, it gets worse because it's backwards. Normally when you fight something in the physical world, you beat its ass or it beats your ass. That's what happens. But in your mind, when you fight or resist something, it gets worse. When I was a kid, I just fought and fought and fought and fought. I call it the brick mentality, where you don't think, you just windmill and windmill, brother. I just get in there and fucking, yeah. That was my nature even as a kid, and it was kind of funny because as a guy that absolutely loves psychology, you couldn't imagine me sitting there talking to a psychologist and them giving me good advice and then me doing the dumb thing anyways. Yeah. The truth about life, we were all stupid kids, and if you want to know if you know a stupid adult, ask them if they were a stupid kid. If they tell you they were a smart kid, they're a dumb adult. So, yeah. It is kind of funny that the Shadow Self did pop up in the Avengers movie, or the Thunderbolts movie. Because it's something I'm currently dealing with, and as I comprehend what this thing tells me and I grow to understand it, and as I understand it, I understand myself, because it is just everything about myself that I deemed as bad. I mean, currently, it seems to be that I only thought being overly aggressive was bad, or being reactionary was bad. Which is funny, because now I distinctly remember Blondie hypnotizing me to be a reactionary idiot just like he is, because why not? He can't handle the fact he's a dumbass and he's not going to change, so why not ruin other people and make them just as shitty as he is, so that he doesn't have to develop, oh no, change! That thing I'm averse to. Oh, it happens all the time, everywhere you look. And I always think about change and growth and relevancies of watching this old-ass Resident Evil video. Where this guy was like, if you had a mutation like William Burke and how fast the G virus, which is the God virus, mutates the body, you would have heat and fire and light coming from the body because of the rapid reproduction of the cells. The cells would effectively destroy themselves faster than they could reproduce unless there was a crazy healing factor involved in it. What that tells you is change hurts. That's what that tells you, is change hurts, okay? If you were to suddenly just rapidly gain a whole bunch of muscle mass really quick, it would be painful because the amount of heat generated and thermal energy generated would make it painful. It would burn. Feel the burn. The burning lets you know it's working. Yeah. And that is why the subconscious mind is averse to it, because it knows it's gonna hurt. And if the subconscious mind has been hurt enough times, it doesn't want to get hurt anymore, which is probably why I am in a state of inaction, because my subconscious mind and I both mutually agree, we are tired of getting hurt. We are. And if we help people, we get hurt, and if we don't help people, we get hurt. So that just kind of makes everything pointless. Remember Blondie, we punish good people. We teach them a fucking lesson. Okay. Wonderful. That's great. I hope you guys are proud of yourselves because, just, you guys should do a video about beating up Barney or something. Yeah. So that's where I'm at with that.